the west side. This is a indigenous food source that was harvested for centuries, and now we live in a city that is named after it, and we cannot find it. So, in my poetry, I celebrate young indigenous voice and poetry, and also I project a future with goals in mind of indigenizing our communities with homes and businesses, structures and education. And one of the things is indigenous food sovereignty. So last year we planted with children from the White Buffalo Youth Lodge on 20th Street. We went down to the north side of the Saskatchewan River and planted 200 berries. I think out of those 200 trees that were planted, maybe 30 or 40 of them survived. So this year we're going to be doing the same thing in May of 2020, the first week, and we're going to be planting 1,000 indigenous food sources, the Saskatoon berry bush and also the chokecherry bush, which are also used in cultural, and they have very significant meaning towards ceremony. And with this particular project, I invite all of you to join me in this effort. And I want the youth, the children of our communities to put these plants, these shrubs into the ground by the river, so that when they grow up, they will understand that they belong to a community that is welcoming to them. Thank you.
Now I would like to request Manuela to introduce yourself, please. She is an activist and educator.
Good morning. Thank you for having me, Joanessa. My name is Manuela Castro. I am originally from Chile, of Mestiza background. I am actually originally and still I'm Chilean. And on one hand, I'm a quote-unquote artist because I just make fanzines and I play in punk bands and I organize cultural events. But as part of my job, I also work in the coordinating the anti-racism network. And I thought very, very thought-provoking and important and interesting the question that you're inviting us to think about, which is when cultural performances are kind of like consumed without a context of decolonization, reconciliation, of recognizing the sovereignty of indigenous people, of recognizing the right for everybody to be here. So then it's a problem when these are just kind of like spectacles to be consumed, but they don't really decenter the idea that Canada is just European and white and British. So that's a problem. That's a really big problem. And we've seen that with both indigenous performances that are consumed or appropriated or just used as spectacles, but not really understanding what are the deeper meanings of those performances. And in the same way that ethnic communities here are very often invited to perform, but again, as kind of like as something exotic and different to be consumed, rather to really understand and engage with the deeper meanings and contexts that generated these cultural forms, many of which are ancient, like you were saying. And then, of course, I'm more immersed in kind of like contemporary urban expressions of art and culture, like punk and hip hop. But those are cultural too, right? So I'm very excited to have all these community artists, and I know many of them, and I know their amazing work. And I'm very excited that you invited us to think about this. It's a very important question.
Now I would like to introduce with Pallabi Mojumdar. She is a Bangla song lyricist, music composer, and singer.
Thank you very much, Pallabi, for inviting me. At this platform, I would like to mention one thing. I feel that it's a crisis right now in our society, in our Saskatoon, small Saskatoon musicians society. It's a crisis, I would say, because we are always aware of the death of a human body, but we were not aware of how the artistic soul die. And I feel like I'm also dying. My soul is dying. Why am I telling this? Because like when I was in Bangladesh, I used to write and compose like almost every day. But when I came to Canada, it's like after years, I'm not been able to write anything. Because uh, there there are least opportunities for us who can actually create or contribute something for the society or for the world. And another thing is that I would say we don't get proper environment to actually practice our cultural, ethnic, like the knowledge that we have. We cannot actually spread out what we have learned to our even next generation. There is a huge gap, I would say, and we cannot actually, I would say, manage the gap, because I can feel that whatever I know, whatever we all know, that could be a big school, I would say. And from each of us, if we could give our next generation at least 10%, that would be great gift for our next generation. So I would like to mention, it's a crisis right now, so we should actually speak up and find out the way. Thank you for inviting me here.
I would like to introduce with Sneha Mukherjee. She is an Indian classical dancer and she is the founder of Mudra Dance School.
Hello everyone, good morning. Thank you Javanesa for inviting me here. And I've been here before, I think 7 years ago, telling about what I know, what I'm going to do, but I never actually thought that after teaching these stuff and letting my students dance in some shows is just not enough. And I have not really dealt it in detail that what kind of challenges they are going to face. And now after 7 years, I know what I am here for. And now we really have to let people know that yes, we are underrepresented. There's no proper platform, and the stuff what we do on cultural forums is mostly, I would say, entertainment. And just because certain organizations follow certain protocols, like including all colors or all nations, and just doing a kind of a formality, but this kind of art forms are not accepted, and we are still struggling with the popular culture. I still remember like going to certain multicultural programs when people just say that, oh, India, Bollywood. So is that something what I taught these girls for all 7 years? So when I look back, I don't know how much I have achieved, but yeah, something like this needs to be discussed. And I feel great being in this room with so many talented people, and especially in a small city like Saskatoon. I think this will bring a revolution for sure. Thank you, Javanessa, for doing this, and yeah, we would love to hear more from the other guests as well. Thank you.
I would like to invite Paramita Sengupta. She is an Odissi dancer. It's a form of Indian classical dance.
Thank you, Chapula, for inviting me here today. I'm really honored to be here in the midst of some really talented artists from our own community and also from other culture as well. So yeah, I'm Paramita Sengupta, and I'm studying computers. I'm finishing my bachelor's degree in computer science, and besides, I'm also an artist. And whenever I call myself as an artist, I feel scared. I'm intimidated by this entitlement of an artist, because whenever I share the knowledge of what I know, or whenever I go somewhere to perform, I'm always scared, because there is no space for us where we can share our knowledge. People really appreciate our movements, our body movements, our hand movements, our footworks, but they don't really tend to know what we're actually sharing, or what we're actually trying to convey, the message through our movements. So this is indeed a crisis, and we face challenges every day. And we know that for 5 minutes of a single piece or a single dance performance, we have to spend like like 50, almost like hours and hours, and almost like 20 hours we have to spend for a single performance. But people don't tend to recognize this, or recognize our hard work, our dedication. They think like we just entertain them. So this is what we face every day, and we get demotivated every day when we say that okay, we are going to perform for you. So yeah, there are many challenges that we face, but yeah, I would like to share more probably in future, and would like to know more about some other challenges from other artists. Thank you.
Thank you, Palomita. If I